I don't think Jayden Daniels is going to be a sophomore slump guy because I think he has elements to his personality and his makeup that transcend slumps. IQ, maturity, EQ, poise, those are slump proof. Power hitters in baseball, they have slumps. Tony Gwynn hit .415 against Greg Maddux. Contact hitters like Tony Gwynn, not really slumpy. Steph Curry, 16 years in the league, 39% to 44%. He doesn't have slump years. He may have a bad half. So I think Washington last night ran into a green and white buzzsaw. It was a short week. They were on the road. Green Bay's the best team in the league. Green Bay's the fastest team in the league, and Washington isn't. They have one receiver that runs over 19 miles an hour, next-gen stats. Green Bay's got 4. And I think one of Green Bay's most talented skill players, Kraft, as a kid, he'll only get better, and he's great now. And Golden out of Texas, again, it's his second NFL game. So they were short week, on the road, old team, against the young team. I don't worry about Jayden Daniels at all. I think he's magnificent, and here he is after.
We got 10 days to our next game, so there's nothing to dwell about it. You know, it's early in the season. I wouldn't expect anybody in this locker room to hit a panic button. We faced a really good team, and we came up short.
Yeah. I mean, it's just funny to even see this question concern for Jayden after disappointing game. I mean, I don't think Jayden Daniels was disappointing. It was a disappointing game for the Commanders, but it was also really understandable. And in hindsight, I actually never consider these types of things, and it's something a little bit of a blind spot for me, and it's something that I need to do a better job of. That especially when you talk to other players and coaches, they acknowledge this, so it's obviously a real thing. It's just not anything that I personally ever directly experienced, so it's a little bit harder for me, I guess, to see it through that lens. But this was, it's week 2, and they're now playing a very short rest game on the road, Lambeau, against a great team. So they play Sunday, and it's their first game. They're hardly in game-ready shape. They're hardly as connected as they need to be just yet, as I think Tom Brady did a great job of illustrating throughout that broadcast. And now you're immediately kind of like resting up, kind of healing from that game. You got like a practice, and then you travel Wednesday, and then you got the game Thursday. It's tough. That's and you're flying to Lambeau. Like it's tough to Green Bay. Like it's tough. It's a tough spot. Now, that's not the reason why they lost this game. That's not the reason why they didn't play any better. At least that's not the way how I see it. But it is all contributing. You hear a lot of people talk about how these late in the season Thursday games are brutal. That's why we get so many ugly Thursday night games, because everyone's so beat up and tired now at short rest. And I think it's the same thing earlier on in the season, because you're just not ready yet. You're not in the flow of the season just yet. Your body's not used to all the contact, etc., etc. But like I said, even if both teams were absolutely full strength, you'll probably get a different type of game. But it's not that I'm going to come out and lie to you and say then the Commanders would have won. Like I'm not saying that at all. But it is just something that I want to start to do a better job of factoring in. But I do think sometimes people factor that stuff in too much, where they're like, oh, so-and-so has to fly across the country and, blah. And I'm like, okay, whatever. But there is some factors into it. But to me, the reality is and I made my Packers video discussing this because pretty much everything that I could say about the Packers was almost kind of like in a complimentary opposite way for the Commanders. As I look to go grab my note, there was absolutely nobody open all game long. There was absolutely nobody open. Jayden Daniels' job in that game was brutal. Every single throw was practically a tight window throw. I mean, it was just, and then when they were trying to do any of these quick passing concepts, these quick, short yardage gains, trying to get the ball out 1-2 yards and then try to push it forward, they couldn't, because the closeout speed by the Packers defense was great. And Cliff Kingsbury lost that coaching battle. And you guys know I'm mega high on Cliff Kingsbury. But he really struggled to get anyone open. He could not, there was just no one ever open and in space. It was really difficult. And I was not a fan. And so that puts you in a lot of third and long, third and long, third and long. You saw all throughout that broadcast, they kept showing us, the average yard to gain, 6.7, 7, 7.1, and it was just third and long, third and long, third and long. And they kept then taking deep shots down the field on these like third and longs and a lot of these low percentage throws. And I didn't understand that personally. It just didn't make a lot of sense to me. And there was other times when it was like, okay, they're going to go for it on fourth down. And I was like, well, if that's the case, like, I don't even know why you're having such trouble converting right now. Just get, at a minimum, just try to get your 2-3 yards or try to catch them off guard and run it rather than trying to take a deep shot. And then now it's going to be 4th and 2 or something, or 4th and 1, and then you find your way through it. So I was a little thrown off by that. And it's pretty interesting too, because there is a moment now that it was a 1-score game and then you needed the defense to rise to the occasion, and then they couldn't, right? They just, the Packers just immediately scored. But I mean, it was to me, like I wrote this nice and big, a lot of tight window throws could never quite scheme, people could never quite scheme separation. And that was the name of the game for me. And that's just, it's just really hard to win that way. You have to be so perfect. You have to pick up key downs. Like, that's the thing. You can come away with the win, but your defense needs to play better, and you need to really make sure that you pick up key third downs and key conversions, or at least get, something going more in the run game. And so they could not do that. And so when you're having your receivers, blanketed, and it's going to be clearly difficult to get up there in yards, well, then you certainly just need to be able to move the chains, kick field goals, get in the end zone a couple times, and then you got to win like an ugly, like a lower scoring 24-20 game, or, something like that. But they couldn't do that. They couldn't do that either defensively or offensively. And so, yeah, this is the game that you end up getting, honestly. They only got to the red zone once. They only got to the red zone once in that entire game, and that's a tough way to live. It's a tough way to have to win some games here. So I think it was a tough game, but I don't think it was necessarily a bad game. I was more impressed because, again, since nobody was ever open, that to me is just like, I'm a lot more impressed by the defense than in terms of for the Packers, than the lack of production from the Commanders' offense. And yeah, I mean, there was just too many moments where there was just nowhere to go for Jayden. And I still think he kept himself pretty composed. He wasn't trying to really force the ball too much. And it's hard sometimes to see that, because since every throw is tight window, you're just like, is there anywhere else to go? And like, I didn't see. And I think even on the broadcast near the very end of the game, they talked about just like the lack of separation for this Commanders offense. And it's just, like I said, man, it's just a really, really hard way to operate. And one of the other get out of jail free cards of that would be, is then having your quarterback be able to like really use his legs, pick up key third downs, fourth downs even, and get some of these plays to try to open up the field a little bit. But Jayden Daniels could not quite do that. And that pass rush and the Commanders O-line was really collapsing on him, and there was just really nowhere to go for Jayden Daniels at that point. And so it was just an overall tough game. But I think this is a good game to put on film for the Commanders in week 2, and now have, as Jayden said, you got 10 days until your next game. You now have so much to work with. You have so much to pour over. You have so much to look at now and see, how do we find our way through a game like this the next time it occurs? Because I've seen the Eagles last year have games like this where there was just no separation. Every pass was really difficult. It was actually against the Packers, ironically, specifically in the playoffs. And it was just very much like, got to convert third down, got to get my quarterback in space to be able to pick up some key downs. You got to play really perfect ball, and our defense has to be high level. We got to get them off the field and get our offense back. We need multiple opportunities here, and that's how you do it, right? That's how you get after it. And yeah, they just weren't able to do it. But I think a game like this early on in the season, there's a lot of potential for growth, and to put on some harder film to go through, I think actually benefits them, honestly. So, but it was definitely a little bit of a wake up call, I feel as though, for this team, just this sense of like, hey, this is not going to be an easy year. Because I do think sometimes there is a sense of like, this year is going to be even easier. We're going to be better, stronger, faster. And like, it just doesn't always pan out that way, right? Everyone just starts to feel that everything is just a little easy, of like, look how great we were last year. Of course, we're going to be this way this year. And that's why you see a lot of the great teams try to really run away from that mentality. It's a new year. It's a new year. It's a new year. This is a new team, new team, new team. The Chiefs do that. The Eagles do that. Like, it's just, this is new. This is new. This is new. And to me, the Commanders got a wake up call this year already, of just being like, this is a new year. Doesn't matter at all what happened last year. Nothing is guaranteed. Nothing is owed. So, let's get after it. But I don't think Jayden Daniels was, bad by any stretch of the imagination. I know he had a couple errant throws, but when you look at all the throws that he was forced to make, like, he was putting it where it needed to go. Like, of course, you're going to have some errant throws when you throw the ball 42 times, right? And you're also kind of running for your life a little bit, like, and you're taking shot after shot after shot. So it's just like, I fear when they sometimes show some of these random, like, couple, one-off highlights, you're just like, oh God, yeah, look, they lost. And look at some of these throws that Jayden was making. It's like, okay, but wait a second. Like, he was making a lot of really sharply accurate throws. There was just nowhere to go with the ball. And then he's getting, crushed, and then has to just like let it rip. And it's just like, what are you expecting? This offense didn't really do much to make his life any easier. And the defense was definitely doing everything they could to make it really hard for them. So, it's going to be interesting to see how they bounce back from a game like this, what they learn, what lessons they learn from this game, and, hopefully see an evolution of Cliff Kingsbury's play calling, and a little bit more of a flexibility and a creativity, especially going into the second half in some of these games, because you could see things kind of slow down in these halves. I've seen a lot of these teams, honestly, just really slowing down in these halves, but I think all in all, considering how good the Packers are playing right now, the fact that there was still even a sense that the Commanders could maybe come away with this, I think is a positive. But we also do have to tell the truth here that pretty much that entire game, it felt like the Packers were in complete control, and there was really no sense that the Commanders' offense was going to be able to get going. And in a game like this, when you are going up against a great quarterback like a Jordan Love, right, when you're going up against the Josh Allens, Lamar Jacksons, et cetera, it's like your offense needs to answer the call. That's how almost all these games, it's very rare that when we see the Ravens versus the Chiefs, you get that 17-10 playoff game. That's more of a rare occurrence. It's more likely that we're getting this game where Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes are going back and forth, and you're in the 30s or something, right? Like, and you need big time offensive production. So when you're going to go up against a big offense, a big quarterback, it's always on the table for it to need to be like, all right, we need our best. And it just wasn't quite there. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Washington Commanders and Jayden Daniels? Are you concerned for Jayden after a disappointing game? It's just a funny thing to say out loud. Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.